Okay, I want you to tell me if this sounds familiar to you. So you have a girl or guy that you're talking to, and everything's going great, but eventually you get around to going over to their place and you meet their parents. Now, ever since you met their parents, everything has been going straight downhill. Well, look, this is because their parents do not like you, and this is a huge part in every teen's life that you have to understand. You have to get their parents to like you, or nothing else will work out right. Because as a teen, your parents have a big role in your life, and if your parents don't like you, then that'll eventually rub off into the person that you're talking to, and everything will just go straight downhill. But look, I got you with some tips to stick with me, and I got you, don't worry. Okay, so before we go any further, I want you to look at me as more like a little friend. Even though we don't know each other in real life, I'm a teen too, and I'm assuming that you're a teen if you're coming to this video asking for advice like this. So don't look at me as like some 30-year-old online just giving random people advice. Like, I want you to think of me as a person you can really relate to, because I have the same struggles as you, but I've overcome them, and I just want to share my experiences with you, and that's all. Okay, so for tip one, you need to know who you're dealing with. Now, this might come off as obvious, but it really is probably the biggest tip that I can give you for this. Because look, let's say, for example, you're dealing with a pair of parents that are Trump supporters. Now, you're not going to go over to their house and say, I support Biden with all my life and I agree with everything that Biden says, because Biden is the exact opposite of what they agree with. Well, not really the exact opposite, but for example, that's a great way to put it. Or if you're gonna deal with Trump supporters, you're not gonna. Oh shit, I just said that. I'm sorry, but if you're gonna deal with Biden supporters, you're not gonna walk up to their doorstep with a Trump flag in hand and saying, I support all the gun rights and all this. Like, you're not gonna. You need to know who you're dealing with before you do anything else. This is probably the most important thing you need to know. All right, so you might be wondering, how should I know how the parents are without knowing them or doing some sort of extensive stalker stuff? So what you're gonna do is just ask the person what they like to do. And because a very big part of how people act are based off of their parents, so if you just ask someone like what their general ideas on things are, like their general ideas on politics or general ideas on the way they go about their life, that's gonna have a big part on how their parents act. Because like father, like son, everybody knows that quote. It's probably the same thing with them. So as long as you know how they act, just act accordingly with their parents. Act like you're talking to a mirror version, just an older version of the person that you're talking to, and you'll have a great time talking to their parents. Okay, so now for the second tip, you need to know the environment that you're in and what to do in the environment. So let's say you're going over to a formal dinner. You're not gonna show up in some sweatpants, some slides, and a raggedy t-shirt. But let's say you're going to a sporting event, or not even an event, just to go play sports. You're not going to show up in a suit and tie. So you need to know what you're doing, because that can also have a very big portion of what they think of you. So you're going to need to dress nicely according to the situation. Now, that doesn't mean you have to spend hours and hours getting ready just to make someone feel happy about you, but make sure that you at least spend a few extra minutes making sure that whatever you're going to do is according to the environment that you're going to be in. Okay, so now we're going to mix tip 1 and tip 2 together. So we're going to need to know who they are, and we're going to need to know how to appease to the situation that we're going to be given. So you can't just tell someone that doesn't like to go to any sporting events to go to a Lakers game with you, because they're not going to do that. So if you know their parents and they like to sit at home and just watch TV, try and integrate that into your schedule somehow and say, how about let's go watch a movie, or let's just go watch TV together. Try and add something that you have and add some value to them, and when they see that you have some sort of value that you can bring to their son or daughter, then they'll value you a whole lot more. Okay, so now for tip 3. This is going to be all about manners, and to an extent, because you do not want to be the one guy that tries to be too obvious when you're trying to be nice to their parents. Like, you don't want to just go out there and be like a whole new person in front of their parents and a whole different type of person when you're around their son or daughter, because they're going to eventually pick up on that. They're not stupid. They've been around way longer than you have, most likely, because if you're dealing with someone around your age, then their parents have to be at least 20 or 30 years older, so they're not stupid whatsoever. So make sure that you are having manners, but to an extent. Do not just act like a little doll just to appease them, because they're gonna pick up on that, and they're just really gonna not like you after that. Okay, now I know everybody says this, but you really just need to act like yourself. You cannot act like a whole different type of person in front of your parents, because their parents probably, their parents, because their parents already have an idea of who you are, and if you just stray away from that, then they're eventually gonna catch your bluff, and they're just gonna completely discard all of that fakeness that you're displaying and just go right back to thinking that you're just a person that's trying to hide something. And as soon as they figure out that you're hiding something, they're not going to look at you as the way you want them to look at you. So just act like yourself, but try and act a little bit more polite. And when I say polite, as I said before, you cannot don't act a little too polite. Like if they need something, go help them with that, but don't help them to an extent where it's like, okay, you're doing too much, just stop. Like don't get them to that point where they feel like you're just acting fake, because when you're acting fake, they can pick up on that, and you do not want that. Okay, so now for tip 4, you need to understand the sense of value. You need to bring some sort of value to the parents, children that you have. So you're gonna need to show that value that you hold to the actual parents. So you can't just walk into their house and just act like you own the place, and like they need to bring value to you. Like you have to show that you're worth something, and by being worth something, you're displaying a whole another trait of, yeah, this is why you should value me, and this is why you should keep me around. So like, let's say you're a girl trying to make a boy's parents proud. If you were to walk in there and act like you own the place and just snobby and all that, they're gonna think that you are too good for them, and they're not gonna value you like anything. But if you were to go in there and show that you could be a good girlfriend or just a good person in general, then their parents will definitely start to like you a lot more, because they feel that you can bring a lot of value to their sons or daughter's life. Alright, so this isn't really a tip, but it's just something that I think you should really know. You should never go into someone's house empty-handed. You should always have some sort of, it doesn't need to be a gift, but it needs to be something. Just try and like show that you're glad to be there, but don't bring like $1 million gift or anything. Just bring, like, if you're having a party, bring some drinks or bring some cups or tablecloths, just any sort of thing that you can bring, and that'll show your value, and just act like you want to be there. I know that might sound hard if you actually don't want to be there, but if you're trying to have a decent sort of relationship, or if you're having any sort of friendship, you need to make a good impression with their parents. So what you need to do is make sure that you know that, at least act like you want to be there, and just bring something to provide some sort of value, and you'll be fine. Alright, so this video was pretty short, but I'm gonna wrap it up just about now, because I feel like you don't really need too many tips. This is not too difficult of a subject. But if you enjoyed the video in any way, I'd really appreciate a like, sub, or follow on Instagram at Milo Monza. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.
Turn into a big boss. Now she see me getting rich, cause I'm about to take off. Yeah, my life is like a movie, this is only take one. Yeah, and I ain't got no time for no one with fake love.